All right, everybody. Thank you for joining me this Monday afternoon. This was originally slated for Saturday, but got some exciting things in development on my guest end that was the reason for it coming to play on today for Monday, which are very good positive things for the reason why. So we're going to get into that a little bit later on. But I want to welcome my guest today, Wally Woods of Allele. I always said Allele my whole life listening to the band. So I had a feeling it might be pronounced wrong with the way I said it,
No,
but it's Allele. So
yeah, it's always been a thing. When we used to tour a lot back in the day, man, we would go into radio stations behind like Atreyu and stuff, and like they would call us a layu, and they would it just wouldn't like punch them in the
uh,
brain. I mean, it took me a minute to like figure out how to pronounce it
yeah.
right, man.
I just went with what the assumption my brain always told me from when I was a teenager and I was first listening to the band for how I thought it might be pronounced.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we used like actually we used to put the pronunciation, the UH and the LEEL, allele.
uh
We're actually thinking about doing that again, just because I don't know, it's kind of nostalgic. I think
yeah,
it's kind of cool when you see things like that. So I think we're gonna put that under there just to do it, because there's a lot of new ears
yeah,
to the new stuff we're doing, and they're probably like Allele. So now we just make it easier for them.
yeah. I don't think it could hurt. I think a lot of people would find that really cool and appreciate it. So I say do it.
Yeah, for sure. We're gonna bring that back, man. So
But yeah,
yeah, we'll end up doing that. We're gonna end up re-releasing the well, we're gonna release it because it's never been released to digital, but the Point of Origin album, because it did have that inside of the CD
yeah.
card. So that's kind of what prompted me to bring that back and put it in there. But yeah, that's what we're gonna
I
do.
was I was gonna be bringing that album up a little bit later on because it's not on iTunes, and I'm like, why isn't it on iTunes?
Yeah,
So
no worries.
we
We'll get to it.
yeah, we'll cover that. But again, thank you for coming on, Wally. This is a really cool one for me. I've had Will Martin from Earshot came on, and that was like a hero moment for me. I have a lot of respect for that guy,
He's
and
a
I have a
good
lot of
dude.
respect for you here. Yeah, so I'm really excited to get to talk to you, man. I've always wanted to. I've never seen an Allele show in my whole life, but I'm really hoping maybe that could be remedied at some point. But I'm going to go ahead and dive into this. And if you care to briefly summarize Allele for like a history and origin kind of question, if you will, for the people that don't know who the band is. So brief little bit of history for how the band came to be up till now, kind of thing.
Okay, yeah. So let's go past up to present, kind of what's
Yes,
happened, where it
yeah,
started.
up to speed,
Um,
basically.
yeah. So well, started in really 2002 is really when Allele started. Me and Lane Maverick and Ryan St. John was the original bass player. Keith O'Gara, OG. A lot of people in the music industry know Keith OG. His dad was an amazing drummer. He was actually, he was supposed to be in a couple of bands that we all know today, but he never went through with doing drums, for some of those bands.
Yeah.
But anyways, we got together and we started jamming and playing and writing. All of us here from town, here in Jacksonville, and it got to the point to where our shows were doing really good and kind of really fast. Like really fast. So probably about, I don't know, maybe a couple of years, into it, we're playing all over Florida. We're like, dude, we used to, take big Greyhound style buses and just pack them with people and go to like
Mhm.
hard rock cafes and House of Blues, stuff like that. We had a really good time, man. Then, it came to the point where it was like, we played like a big festival here. Cold had just finished Year of the Spider. We had met Kelly, sweet guy, amazing guitar player, Kelly
Very cool.
Hayes. I think he's one of the most renowned guitar players to date.
Absolutely agree with you.
And so we were like in a studio one day, with Chumley, who's the radio guy here. Brad, his brother's the drummer in Shinedown. So we're on the radio. We're on the radio one day about Planet Fest 6, I think is what it was. It's hard to remember, but we had called in. We like Kelly had called in or something, and ended up just on some rant where he called in. They answered, and we just kind of made like a joke about him playing, and he quit cold 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
After we played Planet Fest, he wanted to play with us after that, saw us live, So that's where Kelly came in the mix. I was kind of shocked. He left, airplanes and, world tours and, just like, wanted to come play. But I think what it was is, he felt, not to speak for him, but what it was like just a lot of freedom, to play what he wanted. So he and I wrote really well together. I would write, a lot of the concepts and the ideas, but I never say I write everything because I just come in with ideas and then I mouth it out and I sound like an idiot, and then we put the songs together. And he was really good, collaboratively with that. It was just butter, it worked really well with him as a writer, man. So, once that happened, we started writing stuff and then we said, hey, let's move out to Long Beach. So we moved out to Long Beach for about half a year. A good friend of ours, Tarver, ended up hooking us up with, Corporate Punishment. We did have, we had a lot of, we had Epic and Capital and, Interscope, but we, they weren't like beating your door down, but we had people that were really interested in the band and we had talked to people and we had two good options, to go for. But I think for us, then what it was the idea of being shuffled in with so many big bands and like, what's going to happen to us? Are we just going to be shelved? Because man, I mean, it was at a point where 60,000 bands a year were signed. 60,000.
That's a big number.
Yeah, it's huge, man. So, that's why so many bands just get shelved and you're like, why is this band not doing anything? And they're on this huge record label, right? That doesn't happen as much anymore, but that was the thing, So for us, it was, we made the choice to go with a brand new indie label and it worked out really well for us. I mean, Active Radio was like, we were behind Nonpoint within 6-7 weeks, number 2 beating out Taking Back, or Thursday, Taking Back Sunday, Atreyu, all those bands, like we were blessed to like have the music explode the way that it did. We had the pleasure of playing with, everybody. Big Breaking Benjamin, Seven Dust. We made friends. Of course, Kelly knew a lot of the guys, and his old guitar tech was Breaking Benjamin's guitar tech, so we had a lot of tie-ins with that. And, our thing was I think what made it a little easier for us to go back then was our live show, My thing was I didn't want anybody to outplay us on stage and no one's going to outperform Seven Dust on stage and they still don't.
Very true.
I think one of the sickest bands to date that I will compare to Seven Dust has got to be Nothing More. And that's probably the closest live band.
Got a lot of stage presence. I definitely would agree.
Yeah, dude. So that was always our pinnacle was like to perform alongside the caliber of like Seven Dust, So we always wanted to make sure that if you came to a show, no matter who was playing, they knew Allele was there. That was like our thing. So that did really well for a while, man. Then things just really started getting toxic. Dude, I don't drink. I've never done a drug in my life. And I don't care what people do. It's all good. You know what I mean? But when it gets to a point to where it's kind of deteriorating your band and that becomes the focus, for me, it got to a point, and that's not naysaying anybody. This is just for me. Other people didn't have that perspective. I did. We were doing really good and met a lot of friends, and the guys in 10 years, Jesse, those guys are awesome. Their management wanted to take over the band, and kind of push us with the whole 10 years into Korn thing, and I had this epiphany one day, and I quit the 4 days before we left to go on that tour. Which would have honestly, I think, changed the fate of Allele. That tour was supposed to basically be that next step, So we were always lucky. I don't know what, we always had great magazine reviews. We would sit on the bus with Breaking Benjamin. They're listening to the Point of Origin album and going, man, I love that, that heavy and pretty sound, because that is something that we did. And I will never say we're the most original or unique band, because hardly anybody really is. But
Mhm.
I have no problem saying that we did something with a dropped, tuning, and having orchestra style beautiful guitar work on top of heavy stuff. So that is not anything that just anyone did, for sure. So we
100% agree.
we really did that, and we didn't try. That's just how it came out. And that's just a sound that I really liked. It's not like, it's not really like this gothic sound. The only way I could compare it is, heavy songs with orchestra style guitars in it. Some of our leads are five guitar tracks. You know what I'm saying? Just to create like this sound. So that's just something that we really really loved, and it really affected a lot of other musicians, and it was a very humbling experience, man, for a long time. But it just got to a point to where I didn't like what was happening on the road anymore.
Mhm.
It just kind of felt like the fun and the party. And dude, you're rock stars, right? You're supposed
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
I don't think that way. I'm just like, I'm the guy that's at the merch table, hanging out with everybody I can, and you know what I mean. Like, that's my heart. That's where it's at. Like, I'm jumping off a stage and ripping someone's hair, or ripping a T-shirt, or always had hair in my fingers, and like that was my thing. It wasn't
Uh,
about trying to, I don't
that
know,
that was
look
your high,
apart.
basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not about looking apart. I love music, man. God
Right.
rest my mom's soul. She was an amazing musician, and it's in my family. Like, I just love music, and so that's why I'm there. It's not to to have a status or anything. And it's
Right.
like it just got to a point, man, and it was just too much for me. Maybe not anybody else. So the guys ended up, taking another singer out, Andy Toole. I'll give Andy a name because he's a good dude, man. He's a great guy, and he's a very talented singer.
Mhm.
Um, no problem giving props where it's due, but it's not. I don't know why, but it wasn't the same with somebody else singing it. And I think sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't work. People felt like it didn't work. House of Blues ended up actually blackballing Allele because they didn't know that
Whoa.
the singer would change. Like,
Whoa.
it was crazy. Like, I guess the people that run it, were fans, and yeah, it just kind of, that's when it started kind of train wrecking. A few years passed by. I'm like, man, I want to get the band together. I want to write music, and then it just took years, man. I mean, I'm like, dude, let's go.
Mhm.
We ended up running into this guy, Mason Romaine. I mean, just a killer guitar player, not Allele style at all. And he ended up basically kind of learning the style, and then incorporated, what he had, very kill switch engage style, into what we do, which you can hear a lot of that in the Next to Parallel album. So that was Next to Parallel was Mason and Kelly.
Okay.
And then, just to backtrack, John Carlo ended up coming in on drums. When we went out to LA, we ended up changing bass players, to Tim Tobin, the man. He's an amazing bass player, dude. Love the dude.
Sure.
We still talk, and then John Carlo ended up on drums. I don't even know where he's at today, but so we ended up, recording a second album finally. I ended up flying out to Pete Jarrell of Trapped. I ended up, we're boys, so I went out there and recorded. In 10 days, man, I didn't have any lyrics for Next to Parallel, because all I do is I concentrate on the music
Uh-huh.
before I worry about lyrics.
Okay.
It's weird for a singer, because if the song doesn't work without me on it, then I just don't like the song.
I
So
mean,
it's got to work as an instrumental enough for you to enjoy it before I even think about writing words and singing to it. I'm a weirdo like that. So we had all the songs, and I had no lyrics for any of them except for Something Different. Something Cured. So, which my boy Josh Scott helped write Something Cured. So I go out there, I'm staying at my buddy Brent's house. In 10 days, I had to write an entire album's lyrics and then record them all. So I'm sitting on like the mountain edges and like Laguna Beach, just trying to get inspired, like my buddy Brent, his kids are screaming in the living room, and I'm like in his house trying to write some stuff, but it actually helped. kind of liked a little bit of chaos, and then the peace, was. I don't know how I did it. I'm gonna be honest with you. I actually cried when I was done because I couldn't believe I got it all done. But Pete was awesome, man, and I improv'd 95% of every melody and vocal rhythm on Next to Parallel while I was in the studio singing. None of it was planned.
Man,
I'm sitting there just going, man, I don't know, I'm just making stuff up, And then I'm like, oh, that doesn't sound horrible. Cool, I'm keeping that. That's how I recorded the whole second album, But I like a lot of it, I think Closure is probably one of my favorite songs off of it.
It's such a good song, man.
I love Closure. Yeah. I actually, it was a tribute to Three Doors Down. All the miles that separate, and the Three Doors Down, they were lines to separate, it's kind of like where that first line, I was listening to Three Doors Down, and that's what started the vocal inspiration for that entire song.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Met those guys, and they're great guys. Obviously, we hope Brad gets past all of this.
God bless Brad, man. I really hope he gets through that.
Sweet dude, man. And when I got to hang out with them, and it was awesome because people were coming on their bus and they're telling everybody, hey, we have families, we keep everything nice and calm now, and just a good guy, man. But so we recorded that album, and then we signed a horrible record deal. I mean, with Goomba, the name should have told me everything, but it had guys behind it, you know what I mean? It just had the wrong guys behind it, and they literally shelved it, and that kind of did something to me. We had a lot of opportunities with that record because, dude, I'm not one to ever be like, oh, my stuff's amazing, but dude, that record's awesome. Next to Parallel is a beautiful record. Take the vocals out of it. Musically, that record's badass, dude. We have had some of the most amazing guitar players not figure out how to play the stuff on that record. And they will all say, even Billy, Billy Gray with Fozzy, we'll get to that's my boy. That's our one of our guitar players. He's in Fozzy currently, but he's also playing with us. And, he'll tell you, man, and that dude is one nasty guitar player, man. Billy Gray he's up there. He's sick. But dude, it's very complex guitar parts in it. So we had a really good time recording that, and then to see it shelved, man, it really punched me in the gut, dude. It did. We were supposed to get tour support, the whole 9 yards, all of it. And then we couldn't go back, we couldn't go back to Warner Brother, and say, hey, never mind. Because, we liked the idea of the smaller label stuff. The bigger labels, bigger money and bigger opportunities, maybe. But I don't know. We've just never been that band, and it's backfired a couple of times, So to any bands listening, don't take the small deal, take the big deal. It doesn't always work out. It worked out for Creed, but it doesn't work out for everybody. Go ahead.
I was gonna, if I could just touch on what you just said about the big label versus small label deals. This is probably one of the first times I've heard someone say, take that bigger record deal over the smaller one, at least in your guys' case. I've heard a lot of bands say that the bigger ones are the mistake just because of how some of it could go. Like, you got the bad end of the deal with Goomba, but the other one was the better for you. The bigger label was better for you. It was just interesting hearing that, because I've heard horror stories more about the big ones versus the indie. So that's just interesting.
Yeah, but I will tell you, professionally speaking, and this isn't for everybody, okay? It's not for everybody. But the thing is, I appreciate that, Sid. But the thing is when you have the bigger name behind your band, you can get a bigger manager. You can get a bigger booking agent. You can use that as a stepping stone to bigger things than you can if you were on a smaller label. I don't really think anybody can argue that. You know what I mean? Us being on Napalm right now versus, John's record label. We're going to have more managers and more, booking agents interested in that, us on Napalm versus that. Yeah, that, today more than ever, I think, names matter. and what you're doing and who you're working with matters. Bands have to work today like they've never had to work before. Before, you could just get development deals. Oh man, this band sounds sick, dude. And we had, Garth Richardson, people know who that is. And we've had people want to do development deals with the band, and we just never did any of that stuff. But there's a lot of things we should have done we didn't do. We just navigated in this band. We're not trying to be Aussie. You know what I mean? We just want to go have fun, and we kind of don't want the stigma that comes with things. But looking back, I would have turned around and went with Epic, or went with Warner Brother or Interscope. It's you can take advantage of some things that you just don't get, with a smaller thing. The Goomba thing has big names behind it that were at these huge labels, but they were doing their own thing. And at the end of the day, they don't have the same money, and that's what I don't care what you say, who you are. It all comes down. You're not doing anything without money, dude. You're just not. You can't go play a show anywhere unless you're paying for your own gas or someone's paying you for it. It's money. And so that's just really where, there's some decisions I think would have behooved us to have made different ones, back then. But, so anyways, after that got shelved, they kind of just punched me in the gut, and I just stopped again. It's hard, man, because, you love when you're a musician and you sing. I don't know how it is. I love playing drums, but I am not my drummer, but when you sing in the way that I am with people, it's very hard to not do it. And it's very hard to do it. It's very, let me see. Oh, need to record. Listen, I love Covered in Anger, and I'm going to give you a little secret. There are no words in that song. The parts that you hear are the only written parts. There's probably 20 written words in that whole song. I make everything else up every time I would play it live, but yeah, so, we shut it down, man. And just people, I couldn't get guys on the same page. Taking 5 years to write a song and put it in a studio, that's ridiculous, dude. That's ridiculous. And that's what I kept running into. Yeah, so, fast forward, I was, I don't know if because I put out some stuff called Feed the Wolves, right?
Yes, I do know.
So Feed the Wolves they're Allele songs that actually we wrote with the current lineup: Tyler on bass, Dusty, Joey, and Billy, and myself. Then I got in a bad accident, and then shut that all down. And then finally doing better. And 3 months ago, I said, dude, that's it. We're going to take the lineup that not to, say a new lineup, because it is, but, it's okay to say, listen, this is the first time we've reinvented the band, and that's what we're doing right now. So this is a new final lineup of this band.
Yeah.
That's where we're at
now. What you're saying there, I agree with, because I use the word reinvigorated in one of my questions when it comes to Red Heart Love and Allele, and basically what Allele is today. I think you nailed it just now with what you're saying, that this is the final version of the band and what you are now. I think there's been a bit of like an evolution as far as that goes with Allele. And I think it's really well showcased with the new song that's out, Red Heart Love, with the guys that you're doing it with now. There's an energy there that just sounds and feels like everything's in its place that it needs to be. And your accident that you had, and I understand that it was pretty traumatic, pretty serious. And there was a period of time where I believe you were told you can't sing. Like with this injury, singing is not going to be an ideal thing for you anymore. And when I told you in one of those messages I sent you on Facebook that listening to the way you're singing in that song, it sounds like such a release for what the experience you went through, and being in a studio again, writing a song, and just doing what you love doing. It is all over that song. And so I just think it's such an amazing thing that the impossible, you took that with people behind you and all your support, and you broke through impossible, and you achieved doing what you love doing again, man. So I think it's tremendous.
No, you gave me chill bumps, man. No, I appreciate it, dude. It
Yeah.
was that was next to the accident. That was, I mean, there was so much to it. I have a steel plate in my neck, like all that crap, and
Mhm.
it's 2 shoulder surgeries, and it's like it makes you feel like an old dude, but it's
Yeah.
like the age had nothing to do with it. It would have made anybody feel like that, but it's just when somebody puts a, because for a year and a half or over a year, like I couldn't, like even talking like this, I couldn't do it.
Right.
I couldn't raise my voice like anything. It was more like this, that's all I had. I was drinking, I was eating soup for, almost 4 months,
Mhm.
3.5 months. And it was the nastiest, grossest thing, tube out of my neck for a month. And not trying to be a baby about it, just
No,
it
no, I
sucked.
get it.
Um, People have been through worse. So that's why I would always have a hard time complaining, because people have had it worse. But that was pretty bad. But beyond all of the pain, all of the stuff, like the worst part for me was when they put a camera. I'm sitting there and they're putting that down there. That sucks, by the way, having a camera shoved down your freaking,
Bro,
throat while you're sitting there awake and you can't swallow or anything.
I couldn't do it.
Oh, it sucked. And my wife Haley was there. I couldn't have done that without her. There's no doubt about it. But man, when he looked at it, so you have these one nerve on each side, and it controls
Mhm.
different parts of your vocal cords. And when he showed them to me and said that they was stretched and broken from the surgery, which I guess 1% of people, but go figure, that's me. Said that those nerve endings can't grow back and they'll never grow back. And the only option they told me I had was to go, they put needles in there and then they electrify it, and it's just kind of medieval crap. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? I couldn't do that. It's, I kind of already been through enough. The thought of shoving a needle 3 inches into my throat and electrocuting it, I couldn't do that part. But yeah, just to be told that it's done and it's never going to happen, that, I think that was probably the first time I've truly felt depression. Um, yeah, it's a hard thing to still talk about, without getting all upset. But yeah, it sucked, man. So every day, that's all that's going through my head. I didn't want to listen to music. I didn't listen. My wife's listening to music, but when I'm by myself, no radio, no
Mhm.
anything, no Pandora, and then no Spotify, nothing. I didn't want to hear anybody sing. It was very
Mhm.
hard. But she kept telling me, she's in the medical field, she's amazing, and just wouldn't let me accept that, even though that's what one of the best dudes in the business is telling me.
Right.
And she just kept pushing me. And so I started putting in like other people's music, and trying to sing. And it just felt like somebody was just taking a rod and just shoving it in your throat, because all my vocal cords were in atrophy. So they had shriveled up and they just weren't
Uh-huh.
moving, and there's no electrical signal to them. And man, the one day, dude, I was driving in the truck, like working, and I made this weird noise, and it was so excruciating. The pain, dude, felt like you took a razor blade in the throat, just ran it across it. But dude, I like stopped the car. I'm like crying like a baby. You know what I mean? I'm just like, because I knew that was something good, even
Mhm.
though it was so painful, dude. Just think of like being punched in the throat and then screaming, and then
Okay.
somebody punching you in the throat, and it was worse than that. It was bad. And it lasted for almost a week. The pain wouldn't go away, but I kept doing it, and the pain started going down. And it took about another year. It was all in all about 2.5 years
Man.
to get my voice back. But I don't know how it came back, because our tour manager, Troy, amazing dude, he had a similar thing where he got busted up and very rare, vocal cord messed up, and it's never come back. So I don't know how it came back. I don't know, man. I believe my wife got me to believe it would, and it did. So when I went in and recorded these songs, because we had this thing going, Billy, is doing Fozzy and all this, and I'm just like, sorry, this accident, I have no voice, so I shut it down, and I felt horrible. But then once I got it back together, Joey and I didn't want to pull the guys back in to
Mhm.
nothing, so I was like, I'll just rebrand it, Feed the Wolves. Joey and I, wrote everything, and then we had, Chad, Jarrett, come in and play some guitar and drums. Great guys, man. Kyle played bass, good dudes. And I wasn't sure about what I could do or not. It took me another year. It took me almost 3.5 years from the accident to kind of really figure out if I could sing or not.
Mhm.
That's a mind game. So, long story short, I felt good enough to go, I want Allele back. And these are Allele songs to begin with, and then went in and redid some stuff. And I feel it like everybody tells me they sound different vocally. I don't know why. I think it's kind of hit on what you're saying. Like the way I feel about it is so different now. It's affecting the way that I sing now. So, and here we are. Red Heart Love means the world to me. I love that. We have so much sick shit coming. It's Red Heart Love, and I dare to say even sicker than that, dude. We have some cool stuff coming. But I got all the guys back, and they are. I will say this, man. Billy, Tyler, Dusty, Joey, all my life playing music. I have never. It's not a dig, man. It just is what it is. It's chemistry. I have never wanted to be in a bus with 4 other dudes before and enjoy myself. Like, this is the first time. That's what I love about the new Allele. I have never wanted to hang out with my band before. I mean, that sounds crazy, but dude, yeah, ever.
Yeah.
I love these dudes, man. I love these. It feels like guys trip when we're together, man. And I think that's really important in a band. You have to like the dudes you're playing with, because that's what tears bands apart. And that's why Allele has been all over the board, bro. That's why it's been everywhere. And it really made me sick being in a band that has this guy and that guy. That's why I shut it down. I can't do that. So that's why I'm like, if we're doing this, this is it. And this is it, man.
I mean, hey, I want to say, man, that's really respectable of you to do it that way. I think it shows a respect to your fans to not just kind of leave them hanging and waiting, in the sense of you want it to be something that is for good, for real, with people, like you said, that you want to be around, and it would, I feel like it kind of breaks the fans' hearts when something, you come around, but then all of a sudden it's gone again. And people may not know what you're saying right now, but it makes sense to me now hearing it, why there was so little for so long. And Allele would be back, but then, again, there would be just, the silence.
Right.
But behind the scenes, you were dealing with that. You wanted it to be something that wasn't just going to be poofing into air anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
And with Red Heart Love, what you're saying about you want to be on the road with these guys and a bus with these guys, that 100% transfers to the music that you're making, right?
No, that means a lot, man. It's awesome that you can hear it, because
that
is what it is. It's cool that it transcends,
Yeah. So, and I don't know if you saw the comment, but my buddy said, having a devoted and supportive spouse is an amazing thing to have and obtain in this business.
Yeah, I was just reading that. Yeah, she's, without my wife, man, I wouldn't be sitting here. We wouldn't have just gone and played some shows after this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I would most likely still not have a voice, and I honestly know that. So I give it all to her, man. She didn't let me quit, and it is really important, like people can say what they want, but if you're somebody that loves to be around people, how can you say that doesn't matter to you? And it does matter. She is my biggest thing. So we're getting ready to go play some shows, with Escape the Fate and some other stuff, and she's I'm just like, hey man, we can go do this and that, and she's the one that's like, well, the bus is just sitting there, dude, like, go get on it. She's really supportive, and it's the support's one thing, but it's not even that. What she did to get my voice back, I'll like be indebted to her forever for it. Because it's not just about singing. I have kids, I get to talk to them. I don't sound like, something's majorly wrong anymore. And I owe that to her, man. I agree 100%.
Yeah. Where my questions go? Oh, there they are. If your wife watches this, I just want to give a shout out to her as well and say thank you for what you did for Wally, because his voice is a tremendous voice, and hard rock and just music in general. So to have his voice back and Allele back, we as fans owe a lot to you. So thank you for being behind him like you are.
Man, that means a lot, dude. That means a lot to me, because I'm not everyone that's like, oh, I sound good or anything. I
Yeah.
always, she tells me one thing, and I'm like, I don't know. I just like doing it. I don't know if anybody likes hearing it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that means a lot, man. I will make sure to let her know you guys said that.
Yeah.
She'll love that, man. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, no problem, man. I mean it wholeheartedly. And let's go ahead and dig into a little bit more behind Red Heart Love. Your experience more in depth of getting that song tracked and just put out here, man, because I bet you I'm going to go on a limb and say that the experience of having a new song out again and the reception that you're getting back for this new song probably feels pretty surreal, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, man. It's to hear people, it's really neat to hear people go, man, I hear Point of Origin in this, but not, because I don't want anything to sound like Point of Origin. It's 20 years old. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it is cool to hear people go, it sounds like an evolution. And, bands try to sound evolved, and sometimes they nail it, and a lot of times they ruin it. I don't necessarily think that I don't feel like anything that we're doing is trying. This is just the stuff I want to write, I had the idea for the song and I sang it, in the shower and around Haley for so long that I think it started getting on her nerves. Like we finally go in and put it down, and it comes out the way that I wanted it to come out, man. Oh, dude, that feeling was big.
Yeah.
That feeling was like, I want Allele back. That's what that made me do. And I think that is going to be the battery pack for everything forward is that the song means a lot to me. I wrote it for her, but it's just not, it's not just about that, it truly is about feeling like you have lost all hope to anything that means something to you, whether it's a family heirloom or, a house, a pet, like a girl in your life, a friend in your life, just being able to have that feeling of it's not completely hopeless. It's all because we feel like so many things are hopeless, dude. Like all of us feel that way. And that she brought that to me, and that's where that came from. That's kind of like my whole vibe on everything now is, I've always had, positivity in like anything I've written, it'll sound, so I'm talking about struggle, and always the last line of the chorus, I will change a couple of words, that's like, hey, but it's okay, but that's really what's indicative about, Red Heart Love. It is the ultimate like anthem of, don't give up on anything. It includes, what happened to this,
Right.
her, and it's something everybody can relate to, I think. And people seem to be, and we're really, really we just can't say thank you enough, man.
Yeah. And you've played it live already, haven't you?
Yeah.
How's that feel playing it in a live setting?
Oh, it's so different. Like, dude, it's I will tell you this. Every band, most bands that really try to push themselves will have songs that are challenging to do live, even they may not sound like they're hard to do live. That one was challenging to do live. There's no ifs or buts. But we got it, it's good now.
Glad to hear.
Yeah, it's good now.
I especially love your vocal delivery all through the song, man. Like so how do I describe this? So I've always liked a voice that will have points where there'll be a little bit of like gruffness or grit to it. And there's points in the song where you do that. And I particularly it's when you say the line about finding a new heart.
Right.
Or having a new heart. It's like this new heart kind of, like it.
Yeah.
And I love that. And it's always been in your voice, but I love the way it sounded specifically in the new song at that point.
That's cool, man.
Like, I don't know, just these dynamics that you give a song with your voice has always been one of the best things with Allele. I'm not saying that the other band members weren't important, but for me, it's always been what you brought to the table. So that instrument, man, the fact that you've got it back, man, I'm sitting here going through my head, what if felt like I couldn't talk to my son? What if I felt like I couldn't sing along the songs that I loved in the car anymore like I
Yeah,
want? It's just I just want to say, man, it's a blessing from God or something.
it is.
Your
Yeah.
wife Haley pushing you the way she did, man, because who knows where we would be if it played out differently with Allele, right now.
Yeah,
So
it's both, man. It's both, it's both are responsible for sure. And that, I
yeah.
mean, that means the world to hear that. It's always interesting to hear somebody else's perspective because, as a singer, like you would think like you like to hear yourself sing, but I can't ask anybody that's ever been around me. If somebody's playing my music, I go, stop it. You know what I'm saying? go, I go shut it off. I don't know what it is. It's a thing, but it's a weird paradox because I love it so much, and I love writing and I love playing and performing. I love it, man. I mean, I can't even describe how much I love doing it, but it is really interesting to hear, other people's perspectives, because it's like you have a lot of people that are very stapled, singers, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And, part of you is like, man, I would love to achieve being stapled, as a singer. But I think that's kind of like the frustrating part with how Allele has always like kept sliding backwards. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because of people and things, and like really keeping the band down and keeping opportunities. So it's a lot of stuff that I think me personally is why I think it sounds just different now,
Mhm.
and it's going to stay sounding like that. There's a different we're here to kick somebody's ass vibe going on. And
Yeah, I hear it.
yeah, I've had, my wife has told me, like I said, that I sound different than I ever have on anything else. And I don't know if it's the vocal rest for 4 years. Like I don't know what it is. But I do feel it when I'm singing, and it feels better. It feels different. And it just may be also just the attitude and the chance that I was given to do it again, and I
Mhm.
don't want to throw it away. I want to have some fun with it.
It's kind of like a rebirth in a way, man. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's like a
Yeah.
rebirth, or how like a snake sheds its skin,
Yeah. I like
It's
that
almost
one. Yeah.
it's almost like you've done that, and that's why it seems different for people hearing it. Like I knew it was you and I knew it was Allele when I heard the new song, but I do agree that there's something different there, but it's an amazing different. It's a really good different.
Oh, that's
It
awesome,
just
man.
it's really great and it works and I'm hungry for more. I want more now and I know it's coming, which
Yeah.
leads me to asking you about these other songs that you're busy tracking right now, man. What can you tell the fans and those that are watching right now about these other new songs that we haven't heard yet?
Well, we have one that's we're getting ready to we're probably just going to do like a cool little band performance video for Red Heart Love. It needs one. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Well, we had some so we came back in. We were going to work with our old label to do some things, but we all just decided to kind of go a different direction. That's why we're like kind of sitting here a second, figuring out
Uh-huh.
some things. So we're working on new management, new booking, the whole nine yards. But we have some really good opportunities, which is great, so we're just going to figure out, what works best for our
Right.
needs, their needs, and go there. But we already have another one recorded called Crown. It's more of a ballad. It's, I guess it'd be a ballad, but it's sick. I love Crown. Some people beg to say that they like Crown better than Red Heart Love, which I think you're crazy. But Crown's a really good song. We have a song called Meteor that we're developing. That one I think is going to take the crown away from Red Heart Love. We have an old song that we decided that we never released called Take You In. It's actually
Mhm.
my wife's favorite song ever. She's mad at me because I'm changing it up a little bit, because we recorded that song like 13 years ago. And
Right.
95X up in Syracuse would play it. We went out and did some stuff with it, but it's such a cool song. We can't throw it away. And I've thrown away probably 300 songs. This one we can't throw away. So we're really excited to finish this one. We're gonna end up going to record that and shoot a video for it all in the same like weekend. So we don't know which one we're gonna release next, that one or Crown. Because I got some really neat video ideas for Crown, but without giving anything away, it's awesome. I think next to probably Unknown, I think Crown's my favorite like ballad. I love Hurt is awesome off of Next to Parallel, and Immune's a good song, and Unknown is like one of my favorite.
Yeah.
That one actually almost ended up being in the Incredible Hulk movie way back in the day.
Wow, I didn't know that.
But yeah, we have those, and we have a couple of cover ideas. Oh man, we can't even tell you. We have this one cover idea that you're not going to expect from us. And
but that's a good thing. I like the unexpected.
And I think the first time that we're going to perform it is going to be in front of a lot of people instead of like recording it. So I think we're gonna trip some people out with this one. And it's not going to be, oh, that's what it is. No, I think it's going to be oh, damn, when people hear what we're going to come up with. I want to have more fun this time. I could never get the guys before, Allele 1.0. I could never get anybody to like do covers and all that. I don't know what it was. Nobody's ever seen Allele play a cover live ever. And I had never understood that part. But this, the reinvented, snake shedded Allele. We got some really neat things planned. So we're here to have some fun, man.
I'm gonna sit here trying to guess and think up what that song that you're gonna cover is gonna be.
Won't ever guess, I'm telling you.
I mean,
you won't guess.
I have no doubt that you're right, but I listen to a lot of music, so there's a chance I've heard what you're gonna cover. But I don't know that it's that song, though.
Hundreds of millions of people have heard the song we're going to cover.
Yeah.
Favorite song to perform live? Probably the second verse in Red Heart Love. The second verse was I didn't think about it until after I wrote it, and I almost didn't keep the second verse in Red Heart Love because I thought it sounded too much like heavy Chevelle in the second verse. But I didn't care. I was like, well, dude, I wrote it. Then it sounded like that to me. And then I'm keeping it because I freaking love it. That's probably one of my favorite things. Otherwise, man, my favorite full song to perform live, man, that's hard, man. That's hard. It may sound dumb, but dude, Unknown's one of them. Unknown, Red Heart Love, Closer to Habit, probably. Because I don't know. There's so many Stitches,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a hard one to answer. It is. I think that whichever one everybody likes the most, that's probably the most fun one at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's kind of how I am with Allele. It's hard for me to say definitively what my favorite songs are because you're one of those bands where everything's so good in its own right that you can't really, not to put a pun or steal the name of the new song, but putting a crown on one of them.
Yeah. No, that's a compliment. We were just the other day we were talking about that. It's like something I noticed, and I love this about like Bad Omens and some other bands. Every single song that I come up with or write or that we write, it's none of them sound the same.
Yeah.
Every single song is totally different from the next. A lot of bands, and there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of bands will, to keep a certain sound, they will use parts of each song, which I think is a really cool idea. And it keeps a sound to that album. Oh, this part sounds like it was from that song, and it was, but they just took this one little piece and made that. We've never done anything like that. And I don't know how we've had a sound without doing that. The songs all mesh and work together. But yeah, I do like that everything we write's different. I don't write any song that is exactly the same. And that's just what we're doing now. But I want to make it even more dramatically different. In this one. This is like the stuff that I've actually wanted to write the last 10 years. And we're writing it with the new final Allele. What is the difference between a young Wally going to record Point of Origin versus Wally today working on new material? I was, man, that's a really cool question. I don't know, the love for it is almost the same, but I would say now I've never felt like I had a mission before, and now I feel like I have one.
Yeah.
I think that's a big difference, and I think that's affecting the way I'm writing music now. So that might be it. I think that's probably the best answer I can give you. I feel like I have an absolute purpose and a second chance at things, and that's the drive now.
Yeah, I mean, going through what you've been through over the last, several years, or just between that first Allele record to now, it does shape you. It gives you perspective. You see things differently, and you put different kinds of importance on different things as you get older in general too.
Yeah.
So I'm honestly not really surprised by your answer to my friend's question. It's, I think it's a lot of people probably are like that, when they look, just for instance, me 10 years ago wouldn't think I would decide to just spontaneously start a podcast and see who would come on it and talk to me.
Right.
But I did it, and here we are, and I love doing it. So
you're good at it,
yeah.
It's it's hard to find something that you really love to do and to stick with it and keep doing it years later. It really is, man, because life is not the same. Life is different today. Life has a tendency to suck itself out of you today. It's like we have to, I don't know, it's like we have to put more effort into just trying to just enjoy and normalcy today. The struggle's everywhere, way more than I think it was 10 years ago and 20 years
Absolutely.
ago. It feels like it anyway.
Yeah.
So I think our thing is, we don't want nothing political, nothing this, just rock, metal, fun, and people. Like that's kind of a new mission, man. But it really is humbling, to even hear people are still talking about the band. I can't even tell you what that. Dude, when I'm sitting there, and I will let you guys know, and this is every band, I've talked to Dan, Donegan from Disturbed, other bands, that we're all friends with, and everybody feels the same way. All these guys, all these girls are sitting there watching social media and going, holy shit, that's so cool. It's never like, oh, they don't care. We do. It's neat, man, when we see somebody, especially years later with all the silence from this band that, 34,000 monthly listeners on Spotify is not a lot in contrast, but it is to me. And it's a lot when we haven't done anything in years. The fact that there's still that many people every 4 weeks listening to us is the coolest thing ever, dude. It is.
And it's big in itself too,
Yeah. Festivals or small clubs? Both. Festivals are fun, man. I'm not gonna try to be that dude. It's like, oh no, tiny clubs. No, festivals are fun, bro. Like they're awesome because the more people I get to get into it with, the better. But having like a small packed venue, oh man, it feels like you're in the living room with a killer sound system. That's a different world.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say one's better than the other. I would just say that I love doing both.
Yeah, sounds about right. Given the kind of impression I have of you, talking with you and everything, it sounds, yeah. And just, I tend to prefer the small, intimate shows in a club, but at the same time, those get so damn hot. Like, just for instance, man, when Machine Head started doing an evening with Machine Head shows where it was like 3 hours of them playing, the venue they played in Portland, Oregon, the ceiling started to sweat and drip moisture on us because it got so hot in there. They were just getting everybody so wild that I'm just like, this might have been better being outside a little bit bigger space, so all this
Yeah.
shit that we're putting off could disperse somewhere.
Yeah.
Because I was drenched, clean, wet, all through to my bones.
Yeah,
Okay.
the heat will knock you out as a band,
Yeah.
dude. You see a band when it's hot and they disappear for like 30 or 40 minutes, they're still trying to cool down, dude. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
that heat's no joke.
But to start wrapping this up, though, because I don't want to take up too much of your time, but what else can you say to the fans in the Allele camp for the near or distant future that you're allowed to talk about?
Well, I mean, nothing's nothing until it's something. That's how I am. Right now we're concentrating on getting out in front of people again, because we've lost a lot of, I hate the word fan, dude. I've always hated that word, but we've lost a lot of fan base, because people gave up, but there's still a lot of people there, obviously. Our goal is to just get in front of people, man. We're going to go play some shows. We'll be up at, Fort Wayne, Indiana. And we're going to go up to Indiana for a couple of days and then come back down. We're doing the thing. We're trying to find the right packages to get on with other bands, we're in the process of working the right manager and hopefully landing something that works to help, fund what we want to do, so just like any band that's serious, you got to have a team behind you. And that's what we're working on right now, man. So we're working on the right team to make it, the ability for us to do what we got to do. So we're going to do it anyways, but this time around, we're lucky and fortunate enough to have some people that want to work, and believe in what we're doing again. And, can't really say much more than that yet, until it's something. But we are going to keep, regardless, we're going to keep putting music out. We'll be doing a video for Red Heart Love, just kind of band performance thing. And then we're gonna shoot out a few states away, probably in September, and work on Take You In. And I think we got to figure out which one we want to release next. The heavier one or the ballad.
My
the ballad's good though.
My vote is the ballad for dynamic sake.
Yeah, I think that's where everybody goes, man. We're very, we're like a take 20 people, put them, we'll ask our family and very close friends, and say, which one do y'all think is next? Because I mean, you speak for how many people, they speak for how many people.
Yeah.
So, it's, that's what we do. We don't want anybody making decisions for us like that. We want to keep a lot of creative freedom this time, and we have our finger, on things, and we want to be able to pick what we want to do instead of somebody telling us. So so with that attitude will depend on where who we end up working with, but I think it's just really good things coming, man. Really good things.
Well, I mean, that's all awesome stuff, man, and I think that's the right attitude. Have the control, make the right decisions that make sense for you guys, most of all, as a priority. We are here. The fans are here. It sucks to lose some of us, but I think it's just something that's going to happen, with lulls and activity and stuff, but we're here, man. And I think that those fans that left, I think they're coming back. I'm sure they're going to be back. And especially once they hear the new song that's out already, they're going to hear that and go, oh, well, shit, this is awesome. Why did I give up? Because here they are, and they've given this to us. This is amazing.
Yeah,
so,
I hope so, man. Because people say it, and sometimes they sound cliche, but dude, it is the unequivocal truth. Without you guys, that doesn't matter. If people aren't sharing and talking about it and dropping our name here and there, well, I wish we could see it all the time, but we can't.
Yeah.
But if people are out there dropping our name and all that, that's what works, man. People want to see that. Unfortunately, the industry today is they want to see numbers. That's just, can't really blame them, but that's just where we're at. So that's what helps us the most. People dropping our name and sharing. That's now probably more important now than it ever has been before. So we appreciate it, man.
That's why I wanted to try and get you on here and chat with you and spread the word of Allele being back. You're here. I'm only, I've got only about 550 people on my podcast page, but that's still people, man, that I could name drop Allele, tag followers, and get them checking it out.
Dude, that's a packed, sold out,
Yeah,
medium sized venue, dude. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So yeah, that's a
So
lot, dude. That's a lot.
that's the goal here. But I just want to say thank you, man, for coming on. I've really enjoyed the conversation and insights and hearing history and or just facts about Allele that I didn't know before, and correcting the right way of saying the name in the first place. It's,
No
but
hate on you, man. It's normal. It's
yeah,
totally normal.
yeah,
Even people that know how to pronounce it, they're just like, oh crap. That's people.
yeah.
But we're gonna throw that pronunciation in there, though.
But man, thank you,
I
It's been
appreciate you,
great
brother.
talking with you. I'm excited for you guys, and I think that it's only up from here, man.
Yeah,
It's going to be a great ride.
it
So,
is. It is. But thank you guys, and thank you very much, man, for having us on.
yeah,
Appreciate you, brother.
you're welcome. You're welcome to stick around for like another minute after this ends, just so I can say a brief bit more to you, and then I'm going to
Yeah,
let you be on your way. And yeah, so
sounds
thank you.
good. All
Thanks
right,
for watching,
everybody.
everybody.